Wall Street closed mixed even as second quarter GDP growth beats expectations. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 closed lower while the Dow closed with gains. Asian markets trade mixed while the gift Nifty suggesting a lower start for the Indian market. Crude prices tick mildly higher as US GDP growth beats expectations, taking Brent crude to above $82 a barrel. Gold prices hit a two-week low as profit-taking kicks in. Mankind Pharma will acquire 100% stake in Bharat Serum and Vaccines from Advent at an enterprise value of 13,630 crore rupees. CNBC TV 18 was the first to report on this development in May. Tech Mahindra's first quarter revenue growth beats muted estimates. Margin expands while profit grows 28% sequentially. Deal wins too have picked up. In key earnings to track, supply is expected to report single digit in the first quarter. IndusInd Bank may see loan growth at multi-quarter lows along with a decline in net interest margin. Also watch out for numbers from Interglobe Aviation today. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. Well, this is a Friday, a fresh new series for Indian markets. That is the August series. Yesterday, we did see a recovery from the lows after that big fall that we saw at the start and in the global markets as well. But first up, as always, let's take a look at what the Asian markets are doing right now. Well, it was a mixed handover that we got from the Wall Street. But if we look at the Asian markets right now, it's quite a mixed picture there as well. So the Taiwanese index, that one is seeing a big cut right now, down 3.5%. But the Hang Seng, it is managing to be in the green and by a handsome margin, 1% higher on the Hang Seng. Kospi 2 is up 0.7%. We have something like a Shanghai, which is in the green, up around 0.2%. It's Taiwanese index in Straits Times that are seeing some cuts right now. Nikkei 2 managing to be in the green. The gift Nifty, that will come up for you on the screen because that is the one which will indicate the moves for our own markets. Mildly in the green right now, 18 points higher is what that index is suggesting would be the start for our own markets. Let's talk about the US markets then. Wall Street ended Thursday's trading session mixed. The Dow closed higher, gaining 81 points, while the S&P 500 lost 0.5%. The tech-heavy index, Nasdaq, also shed 160 points. Major automaker Ford reported its second quarter numbers that came in much lower than expected. The stock tanked more than 18% during trade. And a flurry of data poured in from the U.S. economic tap last night. Economic activity in the U.S. picked up with real GDP figures and PCE numbers coming in stronger than expected. CNBC's Rick Santelli gives a detailed rundown of the key economic figures released.
Let's go to GDP. Our first look at second quarter GDP. Better than expected, 2.8%. 2.8%. We're expecting 2%. Of course, if you comp that, that is going to be bumping right up against the last quarter of last year when it was up 3.4. If we look at consumption, also solid, 2.3%. Also the best since the last quarter of last year. And these are both following much lower numbers for the previous quarter. 1.4 on the GDP, 1.5 on consumption. Now let's go to the price index, shall we? This one comes in cooler than expected, which is not a bad thing. Last look was 3.1, expecting this to be 2.6. Comes in at 2.3. That's the lightest level, well, since Dees, when it was 1.6. And once again, this number is moving in the right direction. Well, we have been at a lower pricing pace. Now let's look at the core PCE, expected to be 2.7. Last look, 3.7. Comes in at 2.9. So a bit hotter than expected, cooler than our last look. And of course, that compares with the last quarter of last year as well, when it was at a much lower 2%.
All right, that's the economic update or the macro data update coming in from the U.S. Global chief economist at Morgan Stanley, Seth Carpenter, comments on the economy's movement and the recent inflation print that affect the effect on the Federal Reserve. Let's take a look.
It is going to be one of many data prints. Remember, this is not going to be the first data print on inflation that has showed that all of the inflation scare from the first quarter was noise, not signal. We've had now several months in a row of falling inflation. I fully expect that to continue tomorrow, and that's going to be important for the Fed. I think in terms of slowing in the economy, it's a big debate in markets, but yes, the economy is slowing, but it is not slow. The GDP data admittedly lagged, showed that the economy was just fine in Q2, showed that the consumer, which is 70% of the economy, was just fine in Q2. We got retail sales for last month. those came in a bit ahead of consensus. What we've been saying is inflation's coming down. It's coming down demonstrably, but the economy is holding up. It's going to slow down, but by no means slump.
All right, that's global market action, but how will these overnight cues impact the Indian markets? There's a lot of opinion and economic data as well. We have our research team joining in to tell you just that, what the trade setup is looking like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and the action from the F&O space as well. Hey guys, a very good morning to all of you. Hormaz, let me come across to you first up. A new series. What are we entering the series with? What is the market setup?
Morning, Sonal. The setup is almost like a template of sorts that we have been following all through this week. That we've been opening lower, we are getting a dip, and that dip is getting bought into, as we've seen all through the 4 days of the week so far. The Nifty has made lows of anywhere from 24,074, which we made on the budget day, to even yesterday's low that we made at 24,210. We saw a recovery from those levels, but the question here is that whether the bulls have enough conviction to take the Nifty to higher levels as we have, but the higher levels have not come by. That 24,500 now becomes a resistance, and for the week now, and even on the charts, the Nifty has been making lower highs. If you can see last Friday's high, which was around 24,850, and now we are down to 24,400, which was yesterday's high. So that becomes a key level to watch out for this morning. Now, the pressure on the Nifty has been coming from banks, and the Nifty Bank has been a rank underperformer this week. Last 3 sessions, almost 1,300 points gone on the Nifty Bank, closing below the mark of 51,000. If it's not HDFC Bank, it was Axis and ICICI that put pressure on the index yesterday. So for the week, the Nifty is down just 0.5%, but the Nifty Bank is down 2.5%, and the 7-week winning streak of the Nifty is under threat currently. Now, the underperformers have also come from the metal space. The Nifty Metal Index, now from the highs that it made on the 4th of July, is down 9% from those levels. And the selling pressure has also come in from the high-flying PSUs, whether it be the railways or the defense stocks. So we'll keep an eye out on that as well. As you mentioned, it's the start of a new series. We ended July with gains of around 400 points, so that's a positive. There's a block deal. Block deals are back. We saw one in RBL yesterday. We might see one in Sobha today. The US core PCE data will be reported later this evening. And of course, the earnings season continues, but the good ones are getting disproportionately rewarded and vice versa. We saw the likes of Jyoti Labs, JK Paper, JSPL, and today we have some big earnings like Indigo, IndusInd Bank, Cipla, and the GIFT Nifty so far is indicating a slightly positive start to the new series.
All right. Okay. Yes, a slightly positive start is what we can expect. Thank you, Hormaz, for that. Well, a lot of stocks that will be on our radar today. Pamakshi is joining us with that list. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Sonal. Let me first start off with Tech Mahindra. The company reported its numbers. It was a very slight beat on muted expectations. They reported a CC revenue growth of 0.7% as compared to expectations of 0.4 to 0.5%. EBIT margins too improved on a sequential basis by 110 basis points to 8.5%, and they also witnessed a pickup in new deals as well. AU Small Finance Bank reported NII, which was above CNBC TV 18's poll, 1,920 is where it came at. NIMs have improved sequentially to 6%. Net profit too came in higher as compared to our expectations. Net profit stood at 502 crores, and the asset quality, however, deteriorated to 0.63%. MGL reported its numbers as well. Revenue came in higher than what we were expecting. 1,589 crores is where it's at. Margins also came in higher at almost 26.3%. And net profit too came in higher at 284.5 crores. Cyient reported a downtick of almost 10% in its revenue. EBIT also contracted by almost 26%. The margins have declined to 11.9%, and the net profit was down nearly 24%. United Breweries reported a miss on the revenue, a beat on the margins, and the net profit was in line with what we were expecting. When we look at the margins, they've improved as compared to our poll, 11.5%. Overall volumes were dragged lower by popular business, and the premium volume growth stood at 44%. Lastly, let's look at BST Industries. Company has announced 10 shares for each share as bonus. Overall, they reported a poor set of numbers. Big drop was witnessed in the EBITDA and the net profit.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Pamakshi, for that list. Finally, let me go across to Sudarshan. He's joining in with all the cues from the F&O space. Good morning, Sudarshan.
Morning, Sona. So we start August series on a positive note, and the reason I'm saying positive, look at the previous day session. We closed in the red, but with a major recovery from lows, and that too when all the global markets were deep in the red. Now talking about July series, Nifty managed to hold on to positive move, and on the lows on July series, Nifty managed to hold on to the levels around 24,000, and on the upside, it went as high as 24,855. Now coming to FI's move, FIs have been sellers in both the cash markets and the index futures. Just in the cash market, they have been sellers for third straight day, and with that, FI longs have now come down to 57% with total net contracts around 65,000. Onto the rollover, it remains healthy. July-August rollovers currently around 670% versus 3-month average of 71%. On the options front, on the call side, we saw major activities in 24,500 call where premium was 111, and on 24,400 call where premium was 160. On the put side, major activities were seen in 24,300 and 24,200 strikes. So where are the option writers seeing resistance and support? Support is now seen around 24,200, which is previous day's low, and resistance is now seen upwards of 24,500, or can say 24,600. And on the stocks front, it's the start of series, so we don't have any stocks in the band, but two stocks that have come out of the band are India Cements and Vodafone Idea. So keep an eye on these two stocks.
All right. Thank you so much, Sudarshan. And thank you guys for joining us and prepping us up for this trading day ahead. We'll step into a break. Up next, Tech Mahindra's first quarter revenue growth beats muted estimates. We'll get to the analysis on this when we return. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. It's time to talk about some earnings now. Tech Mahindra reported its first quarter numbers. Reema Tendulkar joins us with the earnings fine print. Reema.
Well, it's a slight beat on muted expectations. Tech Mahindra becomes the fifth IT companies, barring Wipro. Actually, all the large cap IT companies have come out with numbers which is slightly better than street expectation. So on the top line, the company has bounced back to growth. In Q4, revenues have declined, but this quarter, revenue growth has come in at 0.7% quarter on quarter, slightly ahead of street expectation. Margins have expanded on expected line. Margins have come in at 8.5%, but again, slightly better than the 8.2% that we were anticipating. Communication as a vertical has come under pressure that the street was anticipating, but other verticals like manufacturing, retail, healthcare have been strong for the company. A heartening feature in Tech Mahindra's quarterly performance this time is some pickup in deal wins. In the whole of last year, FY24, the quarterly deal win run rate was about $400 to $450 million. But this quarter, the deal wins have shot up to $534 million. Headcount is pick up, and headcount, remember, is seen as an early indication of demand recovery. So the headcount for the company is up 2,200 quarter on quarter, while attrition continues to remain stable at about 10%. Back to you.
Thank you, Reema, for that analysis. Let's talk about the big deal in the pharma space. Mankind Pharma will acquire Bharat Serums and Vaccines from Advent International. Rachna, who had first reported on this deal earlier in May this year, joins in with the details. Rachna, take it away.
Right. It was on May 14th that we first reported that Mankind will be considering to buy Bharat Serum and Vaccine and is likely to emerge as a front runner. And finally, last evening is when the announcement came from the company that they will be going ahead with this acquisition. Now, this deal is pegged at an enterprise value of about 13,000 crore rupees for 100% of Bharat Serum and Vaccines from Advent International. One of the two things that we're watching out for is one of them, how will Mankind Pharma fund this deal? Now, shortly after we'd reported for the first time on May 14th that Mankind will be going ahead with this plan, the company had come out in their earnings call and said that they will be raising equity of up to 7,500 crore rupees. And now sources have told CNBC TV 18 that it is the same equity that was raised will be used to fund this acquisition, and the remaining will come in the form of debt. Another key thing to watch out for is the synergy between Mankind Pharma and Bharat Serums and Vaccine. Now, Bharat Serum and Vaccine has emerged as a key player in women's health and fertility drug market, and this this would definitely give a step up to Mankind Pharma as they now look to enter this market. Now, one of the key things that we will be watching out for again is this is a very big deal for Mankind. So, in a way, this is going all in one deal for the company, because they've kept all their acquisitions on hold, given they're using all their equity that was raised in that they plan to raise for this particular deal. So we will be watching out how it pans out for Mankind Pharma.
Oh yes, it is a big deal, and congratulations on that break, Rachna. That is the Mankind Pharma that will be in focus in trade today. Moving on to a CNBC TV 18 exclusive, CBIC Chief Sanjay Kumar has said that the budget has laid out the intent to rationalize GST to a 3-rate structure. Tim C. Jaipuria spoke to the CBIC chief, and here is the exclusive with all the details.
Taking cues from the budget speech, CBIC Chairman Sanjay Kumar Agarwal told me that as in the capacity as Chairman CBIC, he suggests that Council can move in having a 3-rate structure, pitching for a 3-rate structure. He said one rate could be a standard rate, one could be a lower rate for food items, and one higher rate, which is on the commodities and services used by the affluent class in the society. He says that currently there are 2 standard rates in the current regime, which are 12 and 18, and they should be made only into one real rate. He also said that for rationalization, policymakers should be sitting with a broader mind to bring in ease of compliance and not giving rise to litigation. He also said that items of common use, consumption and nature should be kept under one rate and not leading to a lot of classification issues and litigation. On the overhauling of customs duties, he said that no committee is required, rather CBIC is already ready with a broad study. He says the aim of the government is to encourage and give impetus to domestic players and export-oriented products, strengthening and diversification of supply chain and correction of real inversion. More granular data study is going to actually help the government in maintaining this new data and new rates, which will be put forward in the upcoming budget. On online gaming, he said that the government is getting a lot of healthy revenues from 1st October 2023. 1,150 crore rupees on a monthly average is what they are getting from this particular sector, which is 4 times. He also said on the petroleum products, again in the capacity as CBIC chairperson and not in the capacity of member to the council, he says that both states and centre get high revenues, and certain products under this category have helped both states and centre to get higher revenues in the times of emergency. Thus, industry feedstock items such as natural gas and crude look more possible, and the idea should be to at least bring in the doable products under the GST regime. So let's see what all of these actually come into reality.
All right, thank you so much, Timsi, for joining us with all those important details. We'll sip into a short break now. When we come back, we'll talk about the commodities market. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. It's time to talk about commodities now. Manisha Gupta is joining us with all the update. Good morning, Manisha. Is there some recovery? What's the trade looking like?
Well, yes, there is a recovery in the energy prices. So you have crude oil prices recovering from a 6-week lows, and this is after the U.S. second quarter GDP grew faster than the expectation of 2% to almost 2.8%. Apart from that, there also has been a decline in the U.S. crude inventories. We saw a fall of 3.7 million barrels on that, and the gasoline inventories also declined by 5.6 million. That clearly has been supportive, as has been the fact that the U.S. dollar index also seems to be slipping a bit. But when it comes to metals, well, we have seen a decline across here. Apart from the second quarter US GDP numbers coming in strong, it is weaker data across. The manufacturing activity in US, Japan, and Germany has been declining. So that has led to the copper prices trading at a 4-month lows, now falling below $9,000 a ton. Also, the gold prices are trading at a 4-week lows. Silver has seen a very sharp decline of 3.5% overnight as well. So barring energy, everything else still in the negative.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Manisha, for joining us. So that's the update coming in from the commodity space. And with that, it's curtains down on this edition of Power Breakfast. But do stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.